Welcome to the Intermission Sports Trade Deadline show. I know this isn't the beautiful TSN panel. This isn't the Sportsnet panel, but I think we're pretty good. I'm your editor-in-chief, Alex Baumgartner. I am joined with Nathan Shield, Dalton Rice, Corrado DeStefano, and Eli should be here sometime soon. So the NHL Trade Deadline is in 25 minutes. We've had a lot of big trades happen. Some reason the NHL GM decided to do it last night. So, boys, let's start with the Taylor Hall trade, the big boy, former Hart Trophy winner, going to that man's team right there, Dalton Rice, the resident Bruin fan at the Intermission Sports. Here's Eli Zamok. Yeah, so we're live right now. We're talking a little bit about the Taylor Hall deal. Let's talk to this Bruins fan first. Why did the Bruins get him for Bjork and a second-round pick? That's a former Hart Trophy winner. Dalton, what do you think of that deal?
Personally, I love it. There's nothing to hate in this trade. The Bruins give up pretty much nothing in a second-rounder, which, is never guaranteed in the NHL, along with Anders Bjork, who was kind of on his way out of Boston, it seemed. I will say good things about him. He gives 100% on every shift. He just hasn't been able to finish. He's looked a little weak on the defensive side as well, which is something that Cassidy has kind of, enforced in this Boston team. So having a guy that, can't fit in that system, it's not going to help him out in the long run. And obviously, Taylor Hall, he's a great ad. He was the big fish, it seemed like right now, even though TSN did have David Savard listed as the number one trade bait guy. I like the ad, even though the Bruins have a good problem right now with having a lot of good guys at left wing. It'll be interesting to see where they go from here. I love the trade. Hall has been stuck on some pretty bad teams for the last few years. We all know that he came up with Edmonton, then went to New Jersey, and he had a 35-game stint with the Arizona Coyotes last season. And he's played 37 games for the Buffalo Sabres this year, recording 2 goals, 17 assists. It'll definitely be interesting to see where Boston slots him, but for now, it's a great trade. And the Bruins, who are still up there for the playoffs, add some depth to a guy who could probably play first line for most teams, and he'll probably slot in on the second line with David Krejci and probably Craig Smith.
The Bruins also got Curtis Lazar in that deal. I guess just a filler in the trade. I guess the market price wasn't a first-round pick for Hall. He only had, 2 goals this season. Obviously, Buffalo has been one of the worst teams ever this season. We're not going to say it, but they weren't looking very good. There's some choice words that some people would use for that organization right now, but they're clearly retooling a bit. Jack Eichel is still going to be a Buffalo Sabre after this deadline, but they traded Brandon Montour to the Florida Panthers. They got rid of, obviously, Taylor Hall. They made a couple moves. We'll get into Florida a little bit later as we have a couple Panthers fans here. Quickly on the Hall, anyone have any opinion? I want to start with Nathan, the hockey editor here at the Intermission Sports. What do you think Taylor Hall brings not only to the Boston Bruins, but how does this change the playoff race over there in that East Division? Because as we know, the top 4 teams in each division play each other for the first 2 rounds in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty big move for Boston. Obviously, they've had some injuries, but they have been struggling a little bit. So it's nice to see them make a big move. I think Curtis Lazar is kind of a guy that people aren't talking about too much in this deal, but I think as a throw-in, I think he's pretty good. I think he can be a decent depth guy for them. They haven't really gotten depth scoring, so I think Lazar is kind of a nice little wild card there, but obviously Taylor Hall is the star of this trade, and I think he's going to fit in nicely. He wanted to go to Boston. They don't normally, like I said, get a lot of depth scoring. So if he can kind of get that second line firing at the same pace as that first line, I think they're going to be really good and can maybe make it out of the East. Who knows?
There's a couple teams that were reportedly interested on Hall. I didn't hear enough out of the Florida camp saying they were in on him. Obviously, Eli, you've been paying attention to the Panthers for a while, being from Florida, as most of us are here, except for our resident Bruins fan over there, and Corrado is half.
I think
What do you think?
Taylor Hall fits into the Panthers' ideal of having a strong center and a sniper winger that Barkov just gives the puck to and lets score. I don't think Taylor Hall brought necessarily more than Jonathan Huberdeau did to the lineup, and I think that they were looking for they're looking for somebody who has Huberdeau's ability without Huberdeau's like connection to the Panthers. Like for instance, Taylor Hall, yeah, he's a sniper. Yeah, he can shoot the puck, but I think that he didn't bring enough to the lineup where they were like, this is the difference for us in the playoffs this year. I think that I know you've been talking about Rickard Rakell, Bomber, that would be a big pickup for the Panthers. I think he brings a little more on the power play side than Taylor Hall does. I think he also brings a little more though, just in I think he's a harder forechecker. He works harder than Taylor Hall. I think he'd be good on the PK. You could slot him in at any time. Rickard Rakell works hard, like you know what I mean. As for the Boston trade, I think Curtis Lazar is actually one of the best pickups for that organization. Like he fits right into their play structure. Like he works hard every shift. He'll get pucks deep. He'll chase it. So, I mean, that trade for Boston, I think they just wiped Buffalo right out of the water. Frankly,
I don't know what Buffalo's been doing. Obviously, we saw that clip that was leaked a couple of weeks ago saying, "Oh, if we sign this guy, we're going for the cup." Obviously, that wasn't going to happen. You got to sell. We knew Taylor Hall was going to be moved. We talked a little bit about this Hall deal already. Let's talk about the second biggest deal. As you see, Corrado with all the Leafs gear in the background. Toronto Maple Leafs traded a first-round pick, I believe a fourth-round pick, too, for Nick Foligno. 75% retained. San Jose was the filler team that retained a large part of that salary. That's why their additional fourth-round pick went over there. Corrado, what does Foligno bring to this Leafs lineup? Obviously, former captain of the Columbus Blue Jackets. I know Nathan brought this up a couple weeks ago. He's a guy that you should be looking for, someone that wasn't really talked about too much as the Hall sweepstakes were going on. Foligno is a very good hockey player. How does this add to the Toronto Maple Leafs' chances at a Stanley Cup run?
Well, it just first and foremost, it adds a lot of grit. Foligno's the kind of guy to he's going to be the one on the power play too. Probably he's also going to be the one to battle the perfect winger to slot in with Tavares and Nylander when Nylander gets back. Just because with that line, good luck if there's a rebound like in front of the net. Good luck, taking care of that with Tavares and Foligno roaming around there. It adds a lot of leadership.
Well, the Leafs have 4 former captains on their team. John Tavares, Jason Spezza, Nick Foligno, and I'm blanking on Joe Thornton. So they got 4 former captains. That leadership group, there's a lot of veterans on that team now, whereas a couple years ago, it wasn't as big of a leadership group in Toronto. What does the next 20 minutes, say 17 minutes left until the deadline, what do the Leafs have to add if they're going to add anything else to really compete? Because as we know, Tampa continued to add. They got David Savard, the number 1 TSN trade bait player at the deadline for a first-round pick. Columbus is stockpiling first-round picks. So Tampa gets stronger.
Hearing
Tampa
Sam
somehow
Bennett's
has...
moving to Florida.
Say that again?
Sam Bennett to Florida.
Sam Bennett to Florida.
Really?
According to who? Let's just get the source.
We got Elliot Friedman right now, Chris Johnston.
All right, so we got Sam Bennett, the former 4th overall pick of the Calgary Flames, the Florida Panthers.
That's a good move.
You guys take the floor. I got some business to deal with.
Yeah, let me look at his stats here.
Yeah. Sam Bennett is kind of a guy. I don't have his numbers pulled up yet, but he's kind of a guy he hasn't really panned out in Calgary. I know he wanted a fresh start, asked for a trade earlier this year. So hopefully we can kind of turn his game around. I think he's a center. So
Yeah, that's the pickup we're looking for. I think he's 24, 12 points in 38 games. There's definitely some upside potential there. Like he's a big guy. Yeah, I think that's actually a great pickup for the Panthers, and that's the
Also,
center that needed.
Eric Gustafson to Montreal per Elliot Friedman.
Oh, that's a big one too.
That's a big one as well.
Yeah.
They've got Victor. I don't want to butcher his last name, but it's like Victor Met. They claimed him off waivers earlier as well. I think he was claimed by Ottawa from Montreal. Mm-hmm. So they lose him and then add Gustafson, who is maybe one of the biggest guys in the block right now. Also earlier, before we hopped on, Carl Soderberg is back in Colorado, traded for Ryder Rolston and Josh Dickinson from Chicago. Also, we have
Rolston's a prospect.
Yeah, Rolston's a prospect. Another big trade was Matthias Janmark and a 5th-round pick to Vegas, and that's coming from the Blackhawks, who get a 2nd in 2021 and a 3rd in 2022. That was a great return for both sides on that, especially Chicago.
Yeah, I think Chicago is probably the leader of this this trade deadline this year. I think that they've been doing some unbelievable moves. Obviously, that Taylor Hall trade's fantastic for Boston, but that's only one transaction. I think that Chicago's picked up so much and was able to get rid of so much. They picked up Henrik Borgstrom, which for me is like a top prospect in this league right now. I don't know, like obviously his time in Florida was iffy. We were on the fence about him, but I think that like Chicago made some unbelievable moves bringing in people.
Mm-hmm. Chicago's stockpiling those young guys. Riley Stillman, I liked his upside a lot.
Yeah, 100%.
Very physical defenseman, 23 years old. I thought he played the game the right way. Wish Florida would have stuck him in the lineup a little bit more over guys like Keith Yandel and Anton Strawman. I think that might have been the plan, but when the opportunity came to remove that Brett Connolly deal, I guess you have to jump on it with all the extensions coming up. Let's talk about the Kyle Palmieri deal. Kyle Palmieri and Travis Zajac went to the New York Islanders from the New Jersey Devils. Couple prospects, couple picks, including a first-round pick. A lot of first-round picks have been thrown around this year at the deadline. I know you have watched the Devils a little bit, Nathan. What do you think about that deal for the Islanders and for the Devils?
Yeah, I think Palmieri and Zajac kind of fit right into the Islanders lineup. I've been watching them play a lot recently, and Palmieri's already making a big impact. He's playing a lot on OT already. He's getting a lot of good minutes, and Zajac is kind of an undercover player. I feel like he's kind of sneaky good. I pointed this out to one of my friends when this trade went down, that I thought he was kind of a big time piece. Has a lot of grit, a lot of experience, some leadership to the room, and I think the Islanders got a lot better with this trade as they're looking to win the East Conference and make another deep run.
Quickly, let me jump in. I got an update on the Sam Bennett deal.
Second rounder and a prospect.
You're gonna like the second rounder and a prospect. So the same exact Taylor Hall package was.
No,
for
I'm
Sam
gonna say Florida traded more than Boston traded for Taylor Hall.
Depends who that prospect is.
Panthers have his RFA rights to Emil Heineman.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was in the
okay.
I didn't really know too much about him.
Also, I want to touch on that Devils Islanders trade as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to go the opposite of what you said, Nathan. I think the Islanders don't get any better with this trade. You get Travis Zajac, who is 35 years old, and Kyle Palmieri, who like his name's been around at the deadline for probably 2 or 3 years now. He's 30 years old. I don't buy in on the Islanders this year. I know that they've had a pretty good start to the season, at least. They played a pretty weak schedule in the East. They played the bottom half for the most part in the start. I just don't think Matty Barzal is going to carry them where they need to go. They got some good young guys there, but I mean, there's a lot of better teams in the East right now that you can probably pick off. And I just don't think slotting Travis Zajac, the old man, or Kyle Palmieri and does much for them in the end. That's my take. I love that trade for the Devils because they clear up over $5 million in cap space.
The Gustafson trade is
a
in 7th round pick and 50% retainment on that salary to Montreal.
I like that trade a lot.
The Palmieri and Zajac trade. Lou Lamoriello is the GM of the Islanders, and from what I know, he's been trying to go after Palmieri and Zajac for some time. Even back in Toronto, he wanted to try to get them. And I honestly feel like it does make them better. Kyle Palmieri, I think he's still got it. He's one of those net front guys also. And Zajac wouldn't be a bad fourth line centerman for that team, I don't think. So if you're not going to go after a big name, which I don't think the Islanders were in the position to, I think Palmieri is a good guy to go after.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm sorry to cut in, Eli. Just one point here. I just think this trade makes them better than they were last year, and I think they had a real chance at knocking off Tampa last year. So I think they're legit, but I guess we'll see. Sorry, Eli, go ahead.
No, I think this Palmieri trade is a stepping stone. I don't think the Islanders are deep enough offensively, personally. I think that they're too heavy on Matt Barzal right now. But I think that Palmieri trade adds a little more veteran status in terms of playoff experience, and then also in terms of scoring, but also in terms of just deepening the offensive lineup. I just don't think they have enough talent there and enough ability, and I think Palmieri strengthens that a little bit. So that's why I'm with that trade. I agree with that completely.
We've also been seeing some higher round draft picks going for guys this year as well. Florida, I think that was on April 10th, Florida acquires Brandon Montour for a 2021 third round pick. Also, Jonas Siegenthaler goes to the Devils for a third round pick from Washington. And I think, Mike Riley goes to the Boston Bruins from Ottawa. I'll get into more of that one later.
I like that Siegenthaler trade. I think he has good upside. I watched him in juniors. He was really, really good. I don't think he was fitting with Washington's plans right now, but for that New Jersey team that's acquiring younger assets, I think he will help them. I think he is a solid upside, probably a second line defenseman, easily a bottom pair defenseman over there.
I just think that the third round price tag's a little high on a guy who's 23 and hasn't done much. And I mean, heading to New Jersey isn't the promised land. It's far from it.
Of course.
So I think as of right now, unless he has a great NHL career, forever how long he plays with the Devils, I think Washington wins that trade.
It's not a bad deal at all.
I also want to talk about the Adam Gaudette trade to the Blackhawks. Yeah. I think it's a very underrated trade.
Yeah, I think that's a great trade by Chicago. Again, Adam Gaudette is a better player than Highmore. Like, he just is. Yeah. Like, even if he's hot or cold, like, overall long term, he just is a better player. I think they just straight up robbed Vancouver on that trade. Like that's one of the best management decisions you can make.
It's important to note that Adam Gaudette is out of COVID protocols. So we were kind of debating whether Vancouver would make any moves. Gaudette is out of COVID protocol, so he is able to be moved. He was great in college. I know that Nathan watched a lot of college hockey. What do you think about this trade for Chicago?
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I'm just shocked that Vancouver would make this deal. I think Gaudette has a lot of upside. He's a young player. He's still putting on muscle. I think he's like 165, 170 last time I checked. Like, he's not a big guy. He's still bulking up. He's still developing a lot. And last season he put up like almost a point every other game. I think he had 33 in like 60 games. So I think he could be legit. I think he could put up 50 points
for sure
in an NHL season. So I'm not really sure what they're thinking. I don't know a lot about Highmore, the guy they traded for Gaudette, but for one, I don't really understand this move.
What are your guys' favorite steals? Maybe some overpays the last few days.
I'll go first. The biggest steal, obviously, I'm not going to bring up the Taylor Hall deal. That's an absolute steal. This isn't even a trade. I think Nikita Gusev
Yeah,
for
I think
$1 million
that's unbelievable,
prorated.
right?
You know, you have a guy who in his last 3 years in the KHL put up like 153 points in 215 games or something ridiculous like that. He put up 44 in New Jersey last year, and considering New Jersey had young centers, yeah, I think that's a really good deal. It's prorated too, meaning he's not actually getting $1 million. That's the biggest steal for me. And then the biggest overpayment, unless the Leafs win the cup, $1 million for a first round pick, for Foligno. It is quite a bit. I like Foligno. I guess first round picks have been thrown around a lot this year, anyways. And Toronto isn't scared to give up first round picks, but Foligno's not coming back next season. Whereas the Jake Muzzin deal, Jake Muzzin was going to come back, and he had an extra year on that deal. So unless the Leafs win the cup, it's a bit of an overpayment on Foligno. But when you're all in, you're all in. Ask Tampa last year,
That's the thing. When
giving
you're all
up
in, you're all
prospects and picks. You know, you're all in, you're all in.
I think we should talk about Tampa because that Savard trade is unbelievable. Like that, their defensive core is like we haven't seen a defensive core like that since like Detroit. Like it like that. That's like I can't even put into words how I feel about their defense. Like it's
You have
just
Mikhail
the ideal
Sergachev
defense.
and Foot playing on your bottom pair. It's clearly
Bottom
something. Bottom six. You know, it's ridiculous. Those are 2 top 4 defensemen. At least their upside is.
My pick for the biggest steal is going to be the Jeff Carter trade to the Penguins. Jeff Carter's 36 years old and has struggled to get over 30 points for the last 4 seasons, maybe even more now. And the Kings get a conditional 2022 third round pick and a conditional 2023 fourth round pick, which could very easily turn into a third as long as Jeff Carter plays 50 or more games with the Penguins next year. It's a stretch for a guy who's going to be 37 next season, but I like that a lot. Possibly getting 2 third round picks in upcoming drafts. I like that a lot, and I think I don't know if it's my biggest overpay, but I will say that the Bruins giving a third for Mike Riley is a bit of an overpay for me. He was traded, I think, from Montreal to Ottawa last season on January 1st for a 5th round pick and an ECHL career kind of guy. And now he's put up 19 points as a D-man. He's kind of overperformed in Ottawa, I'd say. As weird as that sounds, it's just he's having a decent year for an offensive defenseman in Ottawa. I mean, obviously, if it pays off and he's a guy who can stick in the top 4 for Boston and kind of heal that wound left by Torrey Krug, I mean, it's a great pickup if you can get an offensive defenseman that can average a half point a game. But I think as of right now, that third round price is a little high.
Let's go Nathan and Eli. Nathan, who was the overpayment? Who was a steal?
You gotta look at these trades.
All right, yeah. So for overpayment, I'm gonna go with the David Riddick deal. You know, I don't think I kind of said it in the group chat yesterday, but I just don't think David Riddick is that good, to be honest. You know, he's played really good against the Leafs, but I don't think he's really played particularly well this season. Really at all. I don't think I think he's a decent backup, but I don't really know if it's an upgrade again, like with what they already have in Toronto and a third rounder for a guy who's going to be there for the playoffs, and that's it. I mean, that's a little bit questionable, but I mean, I guess it doesn't hurt to add depth in goaltending. And then my favorite deal, I'll probably go with the Gustav deal as well. You know, I think for what they're giving up, just prorated $1 million contract for the upside, you know, about 44 points last season. And we need left wing depth, so he's going to slot in right on the first line, I would think, take Mason Marchman's spot, play with Barkov and Verhage. So
yeah, I think
as much as I love Marchman shouldn't be on the first line.
I think we see probably Luostarinen falling out of the lineup somewhere here because of the Bennett trade.
I'd
but
say
for
maybe
me,
Lamico.
Yeah, the thing is, Lamico brings like a sense of grit that Luostarinen doesn't bring, and we have Achari maybe he slots in instead. I don't know where exactly Sam Bennett falls because that Wenberg line clicks with Huberdeau and Hornqvist. I don't think that changes.
The Wenberg line doesn't move.
I think Bennett probably falls into that third line spot, but with a consistent rotation with like Vetrano and like another winger, that's a good line. That's a good third line in my book. As for the trades, I think that we overpaid with the Stillman and Borgstrom trade because it seemed like we were opening up cap for a bigger move that we just didn't really make. And like that big move just never came in. And like now we're out Borgstrom and Stillman, which are two big losses in my opinion.
Well,
I think that's a huge overpay.
I can touch on why the Panthers made that. So Borgstrom, clearly he was given his opportunities. He didn't really perform that well in the AHL. He had some games in the NHL. It really wasn't clicking for him. They sent him over to Finland. He's been doing okay over there. He just clearly wasn't in their plans for the future. And when I saw the Connolly deal, they already had $15 million in cap space for this deadline. So I knew that deal wasn't really, unless they were going for Taylor Hall without any retainment on the contract. This opens up the future. So the Carter Verhaeghe deal, they're going to have his RFA rights. You're going to want to re-sign Carter Verhaeghe after the conclusion of next season. Alexander Barkov also expires after the conclusion of next season. And Jonathan Huberdeau is the year after. $3.5 million is coming off the books immediately. And then Strawman, after the conclusion of next season, his 5.5 comes off. So now you open up enough money to sign Barkov and Verhaeghe comfortably and still have your cap flexibility to get Jonathan Huberdeau's deal done. Dalton, I want to ask you, looking at the East and looking at the North, who do you think out of those two divisions comes out?
I think it's a no-brainer for the North. How many guys make it out of each division? Is it 2 from each division make it?
So it's 4 for the first round, and then they play each other in the second round.
Yeah.
So each conference final has one representative from each division.
So my one from each division, I'm going to say Toronto makes it out of the North. I mean, there are 3 really good teams in that division, and everyone else is kind of just exceptionally mid-level. Those 3 teams being Toronto, Winnipeg, and Edmonton. Winnipeg's looked good recently. They've been, if you're a big betting guy, the Jets are an underdog almost every night, which is kind of crazy to me. And I think Toronto will own Edmonton. Matthews had a crazy season. If he keeps it up, I mean, there's no way that team's losing. Yeah. In the East, I mean, this one's a little bit more spread out, minus the Devils and the Buffalo Hockey Sabres. I'll say, I mean, I want to say Boston makes it out. They are 6 wins behind Washington, the Islanders, and Pittsburgh, who are all tied at 27 wins apiece. I like Washington a lot. I don't know if I can pick just one out of that, man. Like there's 5 good teams in the East. If you want to call the Rangers a good team, which I guess you can. The Rangers are easily the most predictably like inconsistent team in all of hockey. They'll win a game. If they win, they immediately lose.
The deadline has hit. Ben Hutton to Toronto per Elliot Friedman. Per Pierre LeBrun, Nikita Zadorov is staying put in Chicago. The Blackhawks were listening, but they didn't have anything that wanted them to pull the trigger. We're going to have a couple deals trickle in over the next about 20, 30 minutes, potentially over the next hour. The latest deal is Ben Hutton to Toronto.
And also, Scott Lawton is returning to the Flyers, I think 5 years, and AAV of $3 million. Also, back to the thing about the East, I don't think I can just pick one team out of there. I feel like those top 3 teams are pretty even, the Capitals, the Islanders, and the Penguins. I think, though, if Taylor Hall, Curtis Lazar make a great impact, the Bruins is kind of theirs to lose at that point if they get hot and keep their pace. I know they've had a lot of problems staying healthy this year. They've only lost 12 games. I want the Bruins to come out, but also the Capitals because they're pretty
Let me jump in
full
quickly.
scorers.
Per Pierre LeBrun, the Blues are done for today. The St. Louis Blues have made no trades. Mike Hoffman stays put in St. Louis. He was top 20 in the trade bait list. Nathan, you're shaking your head. What do you think about this whole situation with the Blues and Mike Hoffman?
I'm just shocked they didn't trade Mike Hoffman. I mean, I know they're still kind of in a battle for that last playoff spot in the West, but I mean, I don't think Mike Hoffman's going back. You know, you could have gotten something for him. He's playing pretty well this year, but I guess it just didn't make sense for him. But I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to regret not trading him.
Eli, some Panthers fans wanted Mike Hoffman back. Personally, I didn't see the fit. I think when Hoffman was on the team last year, even though he was a good player, they focused too much around the power play of getting him the puck. And even though the Panthers power play is still pretty bad this year, there's a lot more fluidity with Barkov and Huberdeau without having a target man. They have multiple more options. That's why I didn't think Mike Hoffman should have been moved to the Panthers at least. St. Louis isn't doing that well. What do you think about the Blues' decisions to not sell anyone? I think Eli's muted, so we'll give him a second. Yeah, you're good now. No, you're not.
Still muted.
So he's still muted. While Eli figures that out,
I'll jump in on this one. I think the Blues are making a big mistake. They're buying local ties. Yeah, we got you now. I think the Blues are a little too proud of themselves right now. What's crazy to me is that I know Tarasenko's had some shoulder injuries over the last few years. He's playing like third or fourth line minutes. He's playing Taylor Hall minutes in Buffalo.
Eric Goodbranson's
going to Nashville.
7th round pick in 2023. Goodbranson from Canada, I believe he just had a child a week ago. He's going to Nashville. So Nashville didn't sell at all. I'll let Dalton jump in right after I'm done. But yeah, Nashville didn't sell. They actually added a depth defenseman. Former 2010 third overall pick of the Florida Panthers. So that means two of the top 3 guys in that draft were moved at the deadline.
Also, we just got, I think it's Alexander Barbanoff,
yeah.
to the San Jose Sharks as well.
Wow. Okay, so Barbanoff played the last game. Then he was practicing with the taxi squad today. Nick Robertson is in the lineup tonight. So Barbanoff hasn't scored his first NHL goal yet. He moves to San Jose.
Yep.
Yeah, so now the trades are slowly and quickly at the same time starting to trickle in after the deadline has completed. So Toronto gave a 5th round pick next year for Ben Hutton. Hutton is 27 years old. He's a defenseman. Add some more depth. I don't know how Leafs fans feel about that. Obviously, Corrado had to leave. You give up a 5th round pick in 2022.
Yeah, that's not a problem to me. And especially, I've watched Ben Hutton play. He moves the puck very well. He's a great skater. I think that there's definitely some upside there. As for going back to the Blues, sorry that I cut out earlier. I think that moving Mike Hoffman isn't in their best interest purely because he's one of their main goal scorers in the sense of ability, not necessarily of current production. But I don't think he fit back in the Panthers lineup purely because of what they were doing with Ekblad and him being the target man on the power play. But obviously after Ekblad got injured, it made a little more sense to bring Hoffman back. But I think that between the amount Huberdeau is willing to shoot the puck more, that it wouldn't have been worth it because Huberdeau has just as good a shot as Mike Hoffman, in my opinion. So I don't know. It didn't really make sense for the Panthers to bring him back. One thing I was thinking about, though, was Vincent Trocheck expiring at the end of it was either this year or next year.
I'll check right now, but I know what you want to say, and I'm telling you that's not going to happen.
And I'm not only thinking Florida because Vincent Trocheck, but I don't see him re-signing with Carolina is the only thing because I don't see that happening personally.
He's probably
they might win the cup, man.
he's having the best year of his career. He's a Panthers killer too. They're gonna give him a lot of money to keep him around. He's the best second line center in the NHL. At least one of the
Really
three.
think so?
He's so good.
Yeah.
He plays
probably
top
is.
power play unit with them. He plays top
is good.
penalty kill with them. He's a
Maybe
good
Maybe
player.
he does resign there. What does he fetch? 5 million, 5.5, 6?
6 easily.
Yeah.
6 point. Honestly, if it was open market, looking at the Van Riemsdyk deal, he gets 7. Honestly,
Really?
I think 6.5 is a respectable number for him. I think he can hit 7 on a non-COVID open cap or open market with the salary cap increasing year. I think he gets 6.5. Maybe I don't think he takes a bridge deal this time in his career. His last deal was 4.75 million a year for 6 years, so he made 28.5 million on that latest contract. He 27 years old. It expires at the end of 2022. The cap should go up by then with the ESPN deal coming in and everything. He pulls the trigger on a long deal, so it's probably 6.5 upwards.
That's interesting.
We talking Vincent Trocheck, the side piece of the Chase Prisky trade?
Chase Prisky
that trade is
still
not paying out.
Still yet to play a game for the Florida Panthers, I think.
He's been hurt in the AHL this year.
Lucierainen was part of that deal too. Looks like, according to Friedman, Antti Suomela is the return in the Barbunov deal. So the Leafs get Suomela, I believe. I'm sorry if I butchered his name, but that is the return in the Barbunov deal. We didn't mention this. The Central Division was probably the most busy division this year. Sami Vatanen went to the Dallas Stars off of waivers. The New Jersey Devils waived him. Yeah, they were pretty low in the waiver wire too, and somehow they still picked him up. So that's a great deal for Dallas. That adds a lot of depth to their defense, and the contract was nothing.
Power play.
Really.
The power play gets so much better with Sami Vatanen there. I remember, I think it was his last year in Anaheim. He was his power play points per game, or just like shot attempts, like they were so much better on that shift with Sami Vatanen out there. He just created so much. Obviously, can't blame the guy for dropping off in New Jersey, because that's what everyone does. But I mean, Vatanen is a great pickup for Dallas. I don't know if Dallas is going to really do much.
Yeah, Vatanen was a guy I was looking at for the Panthers personally.
The Central is just so good. It's so good this year.
Those playoffs are going to be nice. Whoever gets that 4th seed is going to give Tampa a run for their money. I still think Tampa comes out of that division. Florida can't get over that Carolina hump. Hopefully with these new additions, they might be able to. It's not like the games weren't close. A lot of empty netters against Carolina. That's why the scores are so inflated. Hoping that Montour can kind of do what he did in Anaheim. Obviously, we just talked about Vatanen having a good year in Anaheim, good tenure in Anaheim, then going to New Jersey. I feel like New Jersey and Buffalo are kind of similar in they don't really know what's going on right now. So the numbers for defensemen or forwards or whoever goes there might be a little bit different. I think Montour getting a solid role with the Panthers could help his game. I don't see how he's not better than Keith Yandle at this point. Keith Yandle gives away the puck more than anyone I've ever seen play the game of hockey. So
yeah, I want to see how Montour fits in on that power play, just because the defensive strength for the power play for the Panthers isn't there.
Well, I don't think they put him on the power play. I just don't think they play Yandle at all at this point. I think Yandle's Iron Man streak comes to an end in the next 5 games. I've been calling for it all year.
Yeah, he got 5 minutes ice time the other game.
He got 5 minutes of ice time. They tried to play him over Matt Kierstead. In the first period, Yandle threw a suicide pass up the middle of the ice. They come in, they score 2 goals and 2 shots. Yandle didn't touch the ice in the third period. That's kind of the story for the Panthers. I honestly don't know why Quenneville keeps playing him. Now that you're adding, even then, like at some point you got to just be like, all right, we've been slipping. We lost 3 games in a row. Obviously, we had injuries, but now you bring in Montour.
He just doesn't want to be Babcock pretty much. He doesn't want to end the guys. He doesn't want to be the guy who's responsible for ending someone's streak.
Yandle already hit 900 straight games. He's hit 900 straight games, like 800 straight games. he hit his 1,000th career game. I think it's time to take that streak to an end. And who knows? It happened with Jay Bowmister. They scratched him, and then they won the cup.
They tried.
Did it not happen? I swear they definitely
no, yeah,
scratched him,
that did happen, but like because he was with the Blues that year.
Yeah.
They tried playing him. I think he did.
Yeah.
I think he did play a few playoff games. I want to say. I don't think he sat the whole entire playoffs because I mean, like, it'd be dumb to sit a guy that has that much experience in playoffs, but he definitely didn't play towards the end against the Bruins.
I know in the regular season they scratched him. He lost his Ironman streak, and then he kind of brought his game back to life a little bit. And then he won a cup. Obviously, Jay Bowmister retired because of health reasons now, but Keith Yandel, you can't move him. He has a full. I don't know how
Hayden Fleury's on the move.
Hayden Fleury to who?
I don't know. Pierre LeBrun's reporting.
Carolina has traded Hayden Fleury.
That's huge.
That's big.
Where does he go?
Watch it be Florida.
Chicago?
It's not going to happen.
The Caps are getting Michael Raffle from Philadelphia as well.
Philadelphia per Chris Johnson. I'm going to say Hayden Fleury wasn't traded in the Central. I don't think they would.
I'm going to agree with
that.
Is there anything on Raquel and Manson right now? I'm not seeing anything.
On Raquel or Manson? Yeah, nothing's been brought up. No one has said that Anaheim didn't pull the trigger on either of those as they did with as they said with St. Louis. So maybe something has happened that just hasn't been reported yet. Obviously, we're getting these tweets up to date from LeBron Johnson and Elliot Friedman right now. At least that's what I'm tracking.
Where's Darren? We need Darren. Haven't heard from him in a while.
Haven't heard from Darren Dragon in a while.
From Darren.
Last night,
on a big deal.
Margarita Bob came out and dropped. Margarita Bob dropped a big 11:30 p.m. deal that Jeff Carter was on the move to Pittsburgh. We're still waiting to see Anaheim. Hayden Fleury has been traded to Anaheim.
Okay, so
what's the return?
Wow.
Maybe Manson.
Yeah, maybe.
Go the other way.
Yeah, so per Pierre LeBrun, Hayden Fleury has been traded to the Anaheim Ducks. We're waiting to see the return on that deal.
Raquel?
I don't think so. I don't think that's an even. Like I don't know. I would think Manson personally.
If Carolina gets Ricard Raquel, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think that's over. I think that they're immediately.
They're not. Florida's not.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's happening right now. Hayden Fleury has been dealt to the Anaheim Ducks. We're waiting to see what the return was. Raquel? Would they trade Raquel for Hayden Fleury? I don't know. I don't think Josh Manson's going back for Hayden Fleury, at least.
Not 1-for-1, but
Nah, no way.
Let's quickly talk about Nashville while we wait. Nashville reportedly was selling on Ekholm and Granlund. I think they made the smart decision not to sell on Ekholm because they could have held on to him for another year and got the same exact package in a better draft.
Granlund would have been great. Granlund's the kind of guy I think I'd rather see go to Toronto over Foligno. If you're talking about like getting stronger.
Ooh, see, the thing with Granlund was when he was in Minnesota, he was really good, and then it kind of just fell off in Nashville.
Who was on his line in Minnesota? Wasn't it Zach Parise?
I have no idea, man.
He had an awful offense in Minnesota, and he killed it.
Yeah. Quickly, we haven't talked about Minnesota at all. Obviously, they didn't make any moves. Matt Dumba, they didn't make any big moves. Matt Dumba, at the last 3 trade deadlines, has been rumored to maybe be on the block. He hasn't been moved. Kevin Fiala looks really good. Kirill Kaprizov looks sick. And they got Marco Rossi coming up. I know this isn't a trade deadline
as well.
thing. Jordan Greenway. They have a nice
team.
team.
Shattuck St. Mary's product, Jordan Greenway.
You know, Minnesota might be the sleeper pick in that division. They might upset a team. They could upset a team.
They've been looking really good.
Colorado has been adding a lot. They probably been the most active team in the West. They added, I believe they added Devin Dubnyk. Who else did they add?
Devin Dubnyk went to
Colorado.
Yeah.
They also added Patrick Nemeth from Detroit. Jonathan Bernier, I don't see anything saying he hasn't been moved, but he was being rumored to possibly be another goalie that someone might pick up. Haven't heard anything. Obviously, the deadline finished 19 minutes ago. At trade start to trickle in. Nathan, what do you think about Bernier? What do you think he could have brought to a contending team if he was moved?
Yeah, I thought the Leafs were going to make a move for Bernier. I thought that would have been a better move for him personally than David Riddick. I think Bernier brings a solid number 2. He's kind of a veteran guy. He's been there before. He's been in the league for a while, and he just knows his role. He doesn't play a ton on a contender if he comes in, but he can win you some games, and he's just solid on that. He'll be solid in that number 2 role or in that number 1 role if you need him to be.
Yeah, I would have thought a good landing spot for him would have been like Tampa or something like that, because Curtis McElhinney just isn't doing the job for them in the second role. Not that they need it necessarily, but they're losing games 4-5-1 to like
let's
Detroit.
keep talking about Tampa. Let's hope it doesn't happen. What if Vass goes down?
Yeah,
What do
that's
they
what I'm
do?
saying. That's what I'm saying. Carter McElhinney just is not that
He
good.
was hurt for a little bit this year already, right?
Can McElhinney really win them the cup?
No,
Like, look at this. Look
I
at the
don't think
Central
any
Division
bad guy
goalies.
McElhinney can't beat the Red Wings, dude.
that's what I'm saying.
Florida, unless something
McElhinney can't even
happened,
Red Wings.
unless something just happened, Chris Drieger's still a Florida Panther. I expected that.
Yeah,
Chris Drieger can win you a playoff series. He is as good as a
agree.
starting goalie. And they got that guy Spencer Knight in the taxi squad. They weren't going to trade Drieger and then have to throw Spencer Knight in against the Tampa Bay Lightning or the Carolina Hurricanes. It wasn't going to happen. But obviously Tampa spent so much. They had $20 million almost on LTIR. Nikita Kucherov is on pace to play in the first round.
Yeah, he's
So-
scheduled to be back from rehabbing his injury.
He should be back by the first round. So yeah,
taking the regular season off.
They're going to
obviously,
game time decision him up until the puck drop.
obviously LTIR, the salary cap. There's no salary cap in the playoffs. That's why Tampa will be able to use guys like Kucherov, and they managed to get David Savard.
We got
Carolina-
Jordy Ben.
Yanni.
Jordy Ben to Winnipeg.
This is the
Jordy
this is
Ben
the
to
man-
Winnipeg?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's huge actually.
I also
need
have the Hayden Fleury return.
it's a
It's
prospect.
Yanni Hankanpää. I believe he's Finnish.
That's a fun name.
And a pick.
And a pick. We don't know what the pick is.
I'm gonna go out there and say a third.
Not a roster
Hayden-
player for
Hayden
Carolina.
Fleury's gross.
Carolina doesn't necessarily get better on this deal.
Yeah, I don't think they benefit from that deal.
So Carolina technically
Not at
sold
all.
at the deadline. I mean, as much as they didn't sell, they technically sold. Per Elliot Friedman, Jordy Ben to Winnipeg. That's why I got it messed up. Winnipeg, Bennington, Jordy Ben. So yeah, Jordy Ben to Winnipeg. 6th-round pick for Fleury. Wow.
Wow.
Robbery.
Wow.
That's the steal of
They
the
got
deadline.
robbery.
robbed.
That's the robbery.
Yeah, they got robbed.
That's
After
my
the
second
Hall
place
deal.
deal.
After, let me look quickly about Yanni. But
Yanni Hakanpää.
Hakanpää,
Oh,
29
I got
years
him pulled
old.
up
So,
here.
Yeah,
He's
no,
not a
they
prospect.
get robbed there. They lose.
yeah,
there.
he's a defenseman. It's Hayden Fleury.
Like,
I don't
great
know why
trade for Anaheim.
why did Carolina give up on him so quickly?
Because Carolina hates playing young defensemen. That's why.
Is Justin Falk still on Carolina?
No, he's on St. Louis, I thought.
Yeah, St. Louis.
Oh yeah, they traded him to the Blues. What am I talking about?
Hakanpää was a 4th-round pick back in 2010.
That's a stupid trade. What are you doing?
The
I don't-
upside
I
for
don't. What are you doing?
Hayden Fleury is still there. I'm not really sure I understand this one, but
I traded for
I
Hayden
like it for
Fleury in
Anaheim.
NHL. Made him a 87 overall defenseman.
Yeah, that's a great top 6 defenseman.
He's
Right there. I
like-
don't know what you're
Playing
doing.
in that game.
Hayden Fleury was
Yeah,
the
he was
7th overall pick in
7th pick in
2014.
2014.
Aaron Ekblad didn't really become a stud defenseman until 2 seasons ago. Same draft. And that was the 1st overall pick. You think he would have held on 2-3 more years to Fleury? Maybe.
Fleury's a
I don't
big
know.
kid, too.
4, 5. I don't
6'3",
know.
like 210,
yeah.
like that says.
That's what you're looking for in a defenseman. I don't know what they're doing on that one.
I like
Um,
that Jordy Ben
6'3",
trade for
208.
Winnipeg. Jordy
That's
Ben
a
for a
great
six,
trade.
pretty nice deal for Winnipeg. They needed that.
Ben
That fills
for
in
a-
their
That's
defense
my
right
notes,
there.
too. I
So
did my
Jordy-
notes. I was about to say, what is Kevin Shell day off doing? But there he
For a
goes again.
6th-round pick for Jordy Ben.
Yeah.
That's a great pickup. Branson for a 7th, Ben for a 6th. Boston gave up a 3rd for Mike Riley. I guess Boston had to give up a 3rd for Mike Riley if they were gonna absolutely steamroll Buffalo in that Lazar
they
Hall
felt
deal.
bad. They felt bad.
Honestly,
Losing
Bjork and a 2nd for Lazar alone probably wouldn't bat an eye. Probably wouldn't.
You know what? I'll say
Maybe the 2nd.
I'll say
Maybe
that
make it a
that would play if you
Chicago
put a 4th
trades
in there with York.
Madison Bowie.
Madison Bowie to Vancouver. The trades continue to trickle in.
Darren Drager is awake. I can confirm.
Darren Drager is awake. Jordy Ben to Winnipeg. Does Josh Manson get moved now? He still has a year. He still has a year left on his deal. I'm surprised Raquel didn't get moved. He's been rumored this year and I think last year too. I'm surprised no one went in on
I hear
Raquel.
his name so much. I never buy into guys like that who are on the trade or who are on trade bait list for 3 years in a row. Makes me think that nobody has any idea what this guy's trade value is.
Yeah, we're still.
Yeah, I thought Raquel would fit in nice with the Cats on that left side, but
Yeah, I
guess,
think
I would've liked
Madison Bowie in a 5th. Madison Bowie in a 5th from Chicago
for a 4th.
For a fourth. Yeah.
Yeah. So the deals are now trickling in. Obviously, everything has to get approved by the league, sent in by 3 p.m.
1 sec.
A lot of deals happened. Eli will be back in a sec. A lot of deals happened last night at midnight or right before midnight. Between 10 and 12, a lot of deals were picking up. We didn't have anything to talk about today because we thought all these big deals were going to happen at 3, and now it's happened yesterday.
I think all these GMs at the trade deadline might have been at 3 a.m. instead of 3 p.m.
I think they wanted to just get these deals over with. I don't know.
I'm not sure why they're all trickling in now. I've been watching. I was watching the TSN stream like all day, and there was nothing going on. And now they're all trickling in 3:30.
Yeah, normally for like from 3 to 4 is hold on. From 3 to 4 is normally when all these deals kind of trickle in. I don't know. Do we see one more big move? Do we possibly see a Raquel? Do we possibly see a Manson?
I don't know if that ship has sailed yet. I think we still got a couple minutes before we can say that he's not.
I think we might see another depth defenseman get moved before it's over, said and done. I don't know if anything big else happens. Like Jordy Ben's a great depth defenseman pickup. The Hayden Fleury one was pretty interesting. I didn't expect Hayden Fleury to be moved for that, for basically a 6th-round pick and a roster defenseman.
If that's what it took for Hayden Fleury, the Panthers should have made that trade. That's like
the thing is
an unbelievable trade.
They sent them all the way to the other they sent him to the other side of the country. They didn't want him anywhere near Carolina. They said, go to Anaheim. You're not sticking around anywhere near here. And I was kind of surprised that teams were helping Tampa so much. Like Columbus really, really helped Tampa with that deal for David Savard.
I wouldn't call it helping as much. Like they did get a 1st and a 4th for David
They got a
Savard.
1st, but that 1st is going to be a 29, 30, 31, or 32, most likely. Unless they were the only team offering a 1st for David Savard, I feel like they could have gave him anywhere else.
Well, now they have their own 1st. They have Toronto's 1st and one from Tampa now.
And if they decide to trade Laine in the offseason, his RFA rights, you're getting a minimum 1st and a 2nd for him, probably more. I don't know if
I was hearing a lot today from a lot of Bruins writers that were talking about the possibility of making a Jake DeBrusk package centered around Jake DeBrusk for Laine, and I almost pissed myself laughing. Like, there's no way Columbus would do that. Torts is out of his mind, but I don't think he'd want to lose Laine.
You know, Columbus trades Dubois and a 1st for Laine. Was it a first?
I
So
think
they
so.
don't have their first this year, right?
I don't think so.
But then they brought 2 firsts back. I don't think they give up on Lion A unless Lion A just plays. Well, the thing with Columbus is if Lion A plays hardball, they just don't sign him. I don't think they sign him. They just let him sit there till December 1st.
Get a nice little tender on him.
Get a tender on him. Someone can throw in an offer sheet. You get a couple picks, or you just match the offer sheet and you have him stick around. Interesting situation there with Columbus. They upset I don't even know if it's an upset. They beat the Toronto Maple Leafs last year. They had a decent push in the playoffs. Now they're not. Now they're sellers at the deadline. They sell their captain. They sell their number 1 center for Patrick Laine that hasn't looked like it's worked out, at least in Columbus. What's going on there?
Didn't Columbus beat Tampa in like second round like 2 years ago?
When they had Panarin, Bobrovsky, and
They
Duchesne,
swept them.
they swept
Yeah,
them.
they beat the Islanders. They beat
Breaking trade.
Mantha to the Capitals.
Mantha to Washington for Panic and Verana. That's a big deal.
That changes Washington's season immediately.
Per Kevin Weeks.
I like Verana a lot.
I like Verana too. He was part of that Stanley Cup team. It's a big pickup for Detroit.
Sorry that your career is ending in Detroit. Jacob Verana, whatever.
How old is he? He's
Okay.
probably like 26, right?
Mantha, they just picked up. I don't know. Mantha has one of those power play shots that's just unbelievable.
Verana's 25.
Verana's 25 years old. Wow.
Yeah, so we're about to hit an
Yeah,
hour.
Verana's a
on
good
this.
player, man. I'm kind of surprised they moved him.
I guess
think you guys. I think we're sleeping on Mantha a little bit here.
Mantha's a big man.
That man can play hockey. Like
That's a big man too.
Yeah.
it's a big deal.
Yeah, but Verana's putting up a point per game, man. Almost like
That's a
like,
huge
he's been
left-handed forward.
almost near a point per game guy.
This is gonna be the deal you look back on this is the deal you look back on at the end of the season, depending on what the team does. At least Washington, and you're like,
for
well,
Washington.
this is giving me. Obviously, I knew Kevin Fiala was that guy before everyone else knew he was that guy because I'm a Swiss supporter. This is giving me Kevin Fiala vibes because let's pretend Mantha is Granlund, not as good as Granlund was. You throw him on a contender. Let's see how it goes. Washington, I haven't really watched too much of their games this year, but they make a deal. They give up Panic and Verana for Anthony Mantha. Detroit continues to add young / mid 20-year-old players to their future.
That trade's like eerily similar to the one last
big
year.
reason why.
I think that
Your Dolphins.
that Red Wings trade that just happened with the Mantha trade is like eerily similar to the one they made with Andreas Athanasiou last year. Trade a big left winger to a bad team. I mean, a good team, sorry. Because Athanasiou is playing for the Kings now, who are bad this year, but he had a good little run with them last year as well.
Yeah, so we're about to hit an hour on this show. We're gonna wrap it up at the hour mark. There's gonna be more deals that comes in. You can stick to our Twitters to see that. Who do you think's been the biggest? Who had the biggest impact on the trade deadline? Which team did the best? Which team did the worst? Let's start with Nathan, then we'll go Dalton, Eli, and then I'll give my thoughts at the end.
Yeah, the one that's really standing out to me right now is really not doing much. Is they're 2-2-2 against the Leafs right now, and it looks like they're probably going to have to face them if they want to make it out of the North Division. And I mean, I really just thought they were going to be active. I thought they were going to bring in maybe 1 or 2 D, maybe another depth guy up front, but it doesn't really seem like they're making any moves. Obviously, they got Jordy Ben, which is a nice addition, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to push them over the edge. So I think they kind of stand out as the loser for me. And then I say just based off that Fleury trade and his upside, I'd say Anaheim is one. They've done pretty good.
Yeah.
I brokered a few deals where they've taken some cap, and then they got Fleury, obviously. We'll see if they do anything with Raquel and Manson, but I think they've been pretty smart. Haven't given up too much and have set themselves up for a nice future here.
My winner is probably going to be the Columbus Blue Jackets. They get 2 first-round picks for 2 guys who are above the age of 30 and haven't done much. I mean, yeah, they get 2 low-level first-round picks back, but like, we'll see what they can do with that. I mean, it's not very common to see a lot of like a high pick trade in the NHL. It's more of a football kind of thing to see first rounders going for better first rounders. But I mean, if they can have a top 10 pick from their own, along with 2 top 30s, they can probably make something happen, get into like, 7-8 area. And my losers are going to be the Buffalo Sabres. Obviously, they trade away Taylor Hall and Curtis Lazar and don't get anything in return for him. They also lose Montour to the Panthers for a 3rd-round pick. Nothing crazy there as a return for, a guy who was maybe one of the better trade acquisitions at the deadline, considering the fact that defensemen always have a very high value at the trade deadline because there are defensive needy teams, and the Panthers were one of those. And they got their guy for only a 3rd-round pick, which is crazy to me. Like David Savard goes for a 1st, and he's 32.
Yeah, I agree. I think Columbus wins the trade deadline for sure. I think Chicago's up there. But believe it or not, I really think the Panthers are up there because the Nikita Gusev signing is huge for 1-1. And then also Brandon Montour for a 3rd. Like you said, Dalton was also great. Sam Bennett, former 4th overall pick for 2 second-round picks. That's a great trade in my book too. I think the Panthers are up there, like top 6 or 7 teams that win the deadline. I think they're in there. But I think Boston absolutely robbed Buffalo too. And I think Carolina's probably my loser because of that one deal. Not that they did a lot, but just that one deal for me is just like
Hayden Fleury's going to hurt. That's going to hurt.
Yeah.
That's a 6'3", 24-year-old former 4th overall pick, who they haven't given much time in the NHL, going to Anaheim, who does very good at developing young defensemen.
Yeah, so for me, I'm going to have to go and say that Buffalo was the loser of this deadline. I think they got fleeced on the Montour deal for sure. 3rd-round pick, obviously, his analytics, he was one of the worst defensemen in the NHL. Rasmus Dahlin has the worst. Dahlin has the worst plus minus in the NHL, and Dahlin was supposed
26.
It was so crazy. He would have won the Masters twice. That's how bad his plus minus was.
And Montour's is minus 13 right now as well. I mean, that's not awful up to the Sabres.
Montour would have won the Masters too. Hideki got a minus 10. Shout out to Hideki Matsuyama. But Buffalo, they got fleeced. I don't think they did good at all. Buffalo loves getting fleeced in their deals. They got absolutely fleeced in the Taylor Hall deal. Taylor Hall, nice. You get to go to a contender. He's out of there. He's probably going to score a bunch of goals now.
His first game's going to be against Buffalo.
And his first game against Buffalo. Curtis Lazar couldn't seem happier to get out of Buffalo either after his comments today. Obviously all in love, but but Buffalo is a loser. I'm going to say for a team that was buying, it's between Tampa and Florida for me. They both added pieces. I think Florida added more pieces that could help them get on par with Carolina and Tampa. Obviously, the Sam Bennett one kind of came out of nowhere. There's no way I would have expected Sam Bennett to have been traded to the Florida Panthers for a 2nd-round pick and then a prospect who was a 2nd-round pick. So 2 2nd-round picks for Sam Bennett with RFA rights. The Gusev thing was huge. I like Nikita Gusev. I think he'll do good if he's on that first line. And Montour should be better than Keith Yandel. Tampa, of course, they added David Savard. Tampa got their defenseman. They didn't get a goalie, so maybe that's why I'll put Florida ahead of them. And just off of that one deal, Anaheim, you got Hayden Fleury. You got a really good defenseman who's only 24 years old for absolutely nothing. So we're going to wrap this show up. We're still waiting to see any other deals that trickles in. We'll put it out on our Twitter and stuff like that. This has been the first NHL Trade Deadline episode. We did one for the NBA the day after. But I'd like to thank Nathan, Eli, Dalton, and Corrado for coming on. Make sure you stay tuned to the Intermission Sports for all these updates. I believe we're going to have a breakdown of some of these trades, an article coming soon. by Dalton. So make sure you stay tuned for that. It's been your boy Alex, and let's get ready for the playoffs because they're just around the corner.